Hi, Scott with 802 Outdoor Adventures here. The sun finally went down over the hill over there. Get some shade in my driveway. I'm changing the oil in baby diesel, getting ready for going to the WHAM this coming weekend. It's going to be Green Mountain Prospectors of Vermont road trip on Saturday, so a bunch of us are getting together up there, going to do some prospecting on the WHAM. And I figured I'd crank up a video here and show you I bought a new toy. It's nothing that great, but I figured what the heck, let's put it on video, open it up and see what's in it. Let's spin the camera around here. Let's see what we got. Among other things, I decided to buy the Minelab Gold Panning Premium Starter Kit. Like I said, it's not anything too great. I've spent enough money on Gold Reapers and such over the last month or so. If we come in here, we can see that now I have the two different sizes of Gold Reaper. I will, if you haven't seen the video, I'll put it up at some point. I'm gonna compare the big one to the bazooka that I have. I do have some footage of me running both of those, so we'll add that in there. But in the meantime, I got a bunch of little clips that I'm probably going to put together and make it one video. So it comes in this handy dandy case. And this is not easy doing it one-handed. Gotta put the camera down for a second. I bought this primarily for the big pan. I mean, the whole kit cost $40. I think they call this the 10-inch pan. That's the 15-inch pan. And then a 1/2-inch classifier, which I think I'm actually going to like. I got to put that on a 5-gallon pail. And one of my biggest issues with classifiers is, I'm going to go get a 5-gallon pail. One of my biggest issues with classifiers is that they don't sit down into the pail. And if they don't sit in the pail at least probably an inch, then you're constantly having to add water into the classifier to get your material through. Whereas if it sits down into the pail, the material falling into the pail displaces the water, which pushes the water up and out the top, which keeps your material wet. And you don't have to add any water. So that's my thought process on that. Let's put that on a 5-gallon pail and see what it looks like. Okay. It doesn't really fit that well on a 5-gallon pail. And it doesn't actually look like that sits down inside the pail too much. So I guess the only way to test it is to field test it in the stream. I do suspect, though, I am going to like this 15-inch pan. I will have to compare it next to the Garrett Super Sluice because I love that pan. But I want to give this one a shot. It feels rugged. It looks like it's a little more rugged than some of the other ones. That's one thing I like about the Garrett is it's heavy-duty plastic. I've thrown the thing around. I have chipped the edge, but I think any other pan would have been crushed. So this may hold up very well. The rest of the stuff that we got was a snuffer bottle. Boy, a fairly large, 2 large gold vials. Tiny magnet, and looks like a little loop for, I guess, looking at your gold under magnification. Oh, and this little thing that I never use. I forget, that has a name, but I don't know what it's called. Anyway, oh, and then the starter guide. Yeah, we'll look at that later. That's pretty cool though. Those vials are pretty big compared to the ones that I have. And that snuffer bottle, we'll have to see how that works. I've gone to using the Garrett style snuffer bottles too. And I kind of like those, but we'll give that one a shot. I think they call that a pipette, if I'm not mistaken. I don't use them. Well, that's it. I will probably come back. I'm in the middle of changing oil and baby diesel here, so I'm going to get back to that, and when I come back, I'll talk maybe seasoning the pan a little bit. I know everybody has their own ways of doing things, but I do know if you don't season the pan first, then your gold's just going to slide right out with the rest of your material. So we will season that pan when I come back. So I set a bucket up and filled it with water in my garage, and talking about classifiers, I've got a few classifiers that I pulled out of my stash of stuff, and I'll show you what I mean. This one's made by Keen, and all these are 1/2 inch. And I don't want to badmouth Keen because I like their products, but I just don't like that classifier. You can see that as I set it down in the water, it doesn't go down in the bucket. It just kind of sits right on top of the water, and as you put material in there, the stuff that displaces the dirt that falls through, that gets classified, that displaces the water tends to run out around the edges rather than make its way up in and help classify. So I'm finding myself having to add water. I just don't really care for that design, although they do stack well, and I really only classified a 1/2 inch. Now the next one is also made by Keen, and this one does sit down in a little bit deeper. As you can see, there's about a 1/2 inch of water or better in there, and I do really like that one because it's taller. It's the tallest one that I have. I do really like that one. The one I use the most and have been using the most is this one here, and I don't know who makes it, but you can tell it's a little bit different. I've got it's sort of falling apart on me. I've had to kind of repair it. It's got a big huge crack in there from use, and that sits down almost half again deeper than the Keen does. And because it sits on a lip around the pail pretty snug, the water tends to stay pretty high in here as you're classifying. So as the material drops in the bucket, displaces the water, and the water level rise, it tends to rise in this instead of running out around the top of the bucket. But you can see, I don't know if you can see that, but see how tapered that is. I think when I bought it, it was more square like this edge, and that edge is really tapered. That's how much I've ground this thing down. This thing's had a lot of use. I really like this one. And I haven't used this one yet. This is the one I just got. And it does sit down in the water, but not that much. And I don't think it seals around the bucket very well. So we're going to have to test this one out. When I go to the Wild Ammonoosuc, I'm definitely going to have this one with me, and we're definitely going to do some classifying with it. One of the other advantages of these style that I like is the mesh that they have in them. You can see that it's not just a flat wire. The mesh has some, I don't know what you call it, some ridges to it up and down. And if you're getting into any more muddy or clay like material, it's good to, you can rub that stuff back and forth on that and it really breaks it up well, as opposed to just this flat metal mesh or the plastic. I have not used all plastic classifiers that much. Some of the guys that I pan with use the Garrett plastic ones. They do sit down in the buckets nice. They seem to seal on the bucket nice, and they seem to like them. But on the flip side, I don't know how rugged they are, and I'm not sure how rugged this one's going to be, but we're going to try it. We'll give it its day in court, so to speak. The thing I do like about this system, and I noticed it as I was putting it back together, is that pan sits down in there really nice, and that's going to go in my backpack nice. Won't take up a lot of room. This one, not so nice. It doesn't sit in, they don't stack well together. That one stacks a little bit better, and it fits in there better, but like I said, I kind of really enjoy this deep one, so it'll be interesting how we do with this Minelab one that I bought. Anyway, let's go back to seasoning your gold pan. Enough about classifiers. So here I have 3 of my pans set up. I always said my Garrett Super Sluice was my favorite, and you can see compared to this last Super Sluice that I just bought how much lighter in color it is and how faded it is. This one's well seasoned. This one, I scratched it up some with some river rock because I was using it sorta. I kind of had material put in there to go in there, but it doesn't matter. This one hasn't really been seasoned yet, and this one's brand new. So let's see what happens when we add some water to these. And I will show you why you need to season your pan. Now if you watch the water as I tip the pan, it kind of sticks to the pan, doesn't it? That's what you want. If you look at this brand new pan, look at that. The water just sheets right off from it. And you don't want that, because that's gonna, your gold's gonna do the same thing. All your material's just gonna slide right off of that and right out it goes. You know, that kind of sheeting action is great for your car. Not so great for a gold pan. So if we put the water into this sort of halfway seasoned pan, it's not so bad, but still you can see the water sort of dissipates off from that too. So let's get some supplies here, and we will season a gold pan and then see what the water does. It should react just like this one does after a couple years of use. Look at that. All those little micro cracks and everything else are just holding all that water, and that's what helps you hold your gold. All right, I'll be back with my setup for seasoning a gold pan. So I've got a little bit of Dawn dish detergent, just a dot or two. I don't need much. I'm going to add some water. I don't know if these have oil on them or what it is, but the dish detergent is just enough to break that film up on there and allow this is just a wet sanding pad, and it allows it to get down in there. Now I like to go in a circular motion because it sets the scratches sort of against the grain as you pan, and that's what you want. You want those scratches going crossways to your gold. You want to get your riffles, because when you're panning, you know, that's what's really going to hold on to your gold. Anyway, you get the idea. So before, when we did that, that water just sheeted right off of that pan. Now you can see it's hanging onto the water. I still got a little more work to do. I probably could use a little bit coarser sandpaper than that. I can't find my coarser wet sanding pad. But what I'll do next is probably get some gravelly type material and work it with the not big rocks and not just straight up sand, but a little coarser material, and that'll help take that layer off. You can see, compared to this pan that hasn't been seasoned yet, what the water does. We're getting there. I'll still work on it. If you're in the stream, you can just use the dirt. You don't need to use soap and water and a sanding pad. But since I'm right here, I just thought I'd show you what I usually do before I bring it to the stream. So that's pretty much all you got to do to season the pan. Just get that top layer off that's from the molding process, I guess, and give it some scratches so it hangs on to your gold. And that's all you have to do to season a pan. I just wanted to kind of add that one of the things that I like so much about my Garrett Super Sluice is it has a really big bottom surface area, and that actually helps me when I get down to that black sand and all the heavies. It actually helps me to be able to wash the material and keep the gold up in the top. This one also has a big flat bottom. These are almost identical in the fact that they have nice big bottoms, a little bit steeper sides than some of the other pans that I've used, which I like. It allows you to really tip it right up, and those riffles will hang right on to the heavy stuff. But that doesn't mean you can speed right through. You'll still lose gold if you're not shaking that gold down through that black sand. So I think I'm going to like this pan. I can't wait to try it. We're headed to the Wild Ammonoosuc on Thursday, and we'll get some footage while we're up there. And I will be using this pan, I think, quite a bit, and that classifier.